Welcome to podcasts recorded live at the Center for Spiritual Living in Portland, Oregon. We have many programs, classes, and workshops developed just for our online audience. To find out more, go to our website at cslportland.org and look under the Online tab. Our mission is to open hearts, ignite minds, and make a difference. If you'd like to support our center and its video podcasts, you can donate online at cslportland.org/donate. Allow us to become part of your extended spiritual community. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are most welcome at the Center for Spiritual Living. Good morning, and welcome to the Portland Center for Spiritual Living. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you're most welcome here. All that we ask is that you stay open to changing your entire life simply by changing your mind. My name is Reverend Larry King. I'm the senior minister here. I do have some announcements in starting out. One thing I wanted to point out, some of you are tuning in up to 10 or 15 minutes early, and I know why. It's so you can hear some of the fabulous prelude music that we have. So if you'd like to hear from our music director, in fact, we were featuring LaRonda Steele today in our prelude music, but every Sunday, at least 10 minutes ahead of the start of the service, we do have some music from our band and other special guests that we've had here. So on to announcements. First of all, as you know, we have Sunday services on Facebook Live at 11 a.m. Those are also recorded and put up on our YouTube channel, and also the audio portion is excerpted for our audio podcasts. So that's Facebook Live. Wednesdays, we have our meditation on Zoom at 7 p.m. So if you'd like to join us for a weekly meditation put on by our practitioners, that's Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. And then Friday, I'm offering Lunch with Reverend Larry, also on Zoom at 11:30 a.m. So if you'd like to break bread with the minister on Fridays at 11:30, that's also being offered by Zoom technology. Anyone's welcome to attend and participate in any of these events. Now, the details for joining us on any of these activities can be found online at our website. That's cslportland.org. cslportland.org. Usually right on the front page of the website will show what's coming up next, whether it's the Sunday meditation, whether it's lunch with Reverend Larry, or if it's our Sunday celebration. Also wanted to just mention that normally we have our Social Justice Book Club the first Saturday of every month. Well, some people noticed ahead that was the 4th of July and not maybe the best time to be doing our Social Justice Book Club. So that's been moved up to this coming Thursday, July 2nd at 12:30 p.m. They're studying A World That Works for All. Sharif Abdullah, a local writer, is the author of that. And you're invited to participate even if you haven't caught up on the book. So again, that's July 2nd, Thursday, 12:30 p.m. Again, the details for joining us on Zoom are on the website at cslportland.org. Let's see, flowers today. Aren't they beautiful? Our friend Katrina Jacobs brought in a beautiful bouquet for us. Thank you, Katrina. And I guess we should get started. One of the places that I have been enjoying beginning this month have been with some of the lovely Buddhist meditations. You know, we're using Pema Chodron's book, Taking the Leap. And to go along with them, there have been some lovely meditations. So I want to start off with this one. It's called mudita, and I probably ought to explain a little bit about the idea of mudita. So the Buddha taught that there are 4 divine abidings or qualities of thought: loving kindness or metta, compassion or karuna, equanimity or upekkha, and appreciative joy or mudita. And so today I wanted to guide us through this idea of appreciative joy. He says that each of these states of mind is equally necessary to cultivate happiness and to eliminate all personal strife. The Buddha taught that if we strongly cultivate this appreciative joy, it's possible to banish all discomfort and discontent from our lives. So mudita can be practiced as a meditation, as we will today, but also as we go about our everyday lives. And during the Sunday talk, I'll explain a little more about that in a minute. So I'll give you tips on bringing mudita into your consciousness throughout the day. So in meditation, I just invite you to sit comfortably. This is a meditation that you don't even have to close your eyes if you choose not to. We begin simply by mentally repeating the phrases, I rejoice and I am happy. I rejoice and I am happy. If you like, you can use the phrases to accompany your breathing. On the in-breath, you can say, I rejoice. And on the out-breath, you can say, I am happy. Let's try that for a moment. I rejoice and I am happy. I rejoice and I am happy. I rejoice and I am happy. If your mind begins to wander, just bring it back to your breath. Bring it back to the phrases, I rejoice and I am happy. I rejoice and I am happy. I rejoice and I am happy. As you recite, I rejoice and I am happy, think of something to rejoice in or to be grateful for in your life. As you listen to my voice, keep repeating, I rejoice and I am happy, even as you think about that thing, that person, that circumstance for which you're grateful for. I rejoice and I am happy. I rejoice and I am happy. It's interesting to note how many small things and ideas that may come to our minds to highlight the joy in our life. Things that you might not normally think about, or things that maybe you take for granted. What can we rejoice over? The simple fact of being able to listen to this meditation. It's a marvel of health, wellness, technology, creativity. Just think how fortunate we are that we can share this time together today. How God has gifted us with these bodies and this availability of sharing. Just continue repeating, I rejoice and I am happy. I rejoice and I am happy. I rejoice and I am happy. Of course, we can rejoice in our families. We can rejoice in having enough food. We can rejoice in the air that we breathe and the sunshine. We can rejoice in the electricity in our homes, the water flowing through our kitchens. Everything from the smallest details of our lives to the grand scheme of the planet itself. It's here to be noticed. It's here to be enjoyed. I rejoice and I am happy. I rejoice and I am happy. The Buddha taught that we can be a wizard or a master of our own minds, that we can learn how to turn our minds around, how to think more skillful thoughts to keep the mind in a good state, how to think the thoughts that we choose to think and minimize those thoughts that we wish to leave behind. That way, even when unwanted conditions or health challenges exist, we can still practice mudita by finding positive aspects to the situation. I rejoice and I am happy. We think of the little pleasantnesses around us and we rejoice and we are happy. Do we have loved ones who care for us and whom we care for? It's easy to take their constant love, care, and generosity for granted. When we reflect on how much we are loved and cared for, we can feel happy. We can find that appreciative joy, realizing how fortunate and blessed we are. We may have benefactors and friends, people who are kind to us, people who have gone out of their way to bless us. When we think of the kindness and support we have received, joy arises, gratitude arises in our hearts. We continue repeating, I rejoice and I am happy. I rejoice and I am happy. I rejoice and I am happy. It seems there's a tendency in our minds to focus on what's going wrong. However, when we start to think of the many things that are going right, we may be surprised to discover that they far outnumber the things that are going wrong. We come back again to the recitation of the phrases. As you keep repeating, I rejoice and I am happy, think of all those things that you can praise and take delight in. This simple act of recollection will uplift and gladden your mind. I rejoice and I am happy. 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 The mudita practice is not confined just to meditation. As you go about your daily activities, you can now and then repeat the mudita mantra, I rejoice and I am happy. I rejoice and I am happy. This is a good practice, for it arouses joy and positivity while reminding you of the blessings in your life, even as you go about your everyday routine. Once you have found this joy and this peace in your own life, you can also extend mudita to others by celebrating their successes and joys. As you repeat the phrases, you can think of the joy, the peace, the success experienced by your friends and family. Intend that their positive experiences continue, that their joy is extended. If you find yourself in a discordant situation when things are going wrong or you're in a place of fear, see if you can't accept the situation, while at the same time think of more positive aspects of your life. Resist the temptation to focus only on the negative and recall the many aspects of your life that are going so very well. Let us repeat the phrases a few more times as we begin to reorient ourselves to the world around us. Know that you always have the option of using mudita as a meditation wherever you like. Simply come to a restful position, your eyes either open or closed, and repeat the phrases. I rejoice, I am happy. I rejoice, I am happy. I rejoice, I am happy. I rejoice, and I am happy. And when you're ready, simply open your eyes. Well, thank you for learning perhaps a new meditation style for yourself. It's one you can do either silently in your own mind, or if it's convenient for you, you can do it aloud, just following your breath, just having those key words, I rejoice and I am happy. Well, I have a treat for you. Yesterday here in the sanctuary, many of our music team came in and they recorded a song called We're All in This Together. It's featuring the Friends Band, Ken Brewer, Don Schultz, Jim Solsberg, with also a guest helping with vocals, Kristin Amundson. So I hope you'll enjoy this pre-recorded music.
Don't let the fear take you. Don't let the fear break you. Don't let the fear paralyze your soul. Let the love embrace you. Let that love take you. Let the love make you whole. 'Cause we're all in this together. No one's getting out of here alive. We have the power to make it better. Anything else is a lie. Don't let the hate divide us. Don't let the hate inside us. Don't let the hate tear us apart. Let the joy find us. Let the joy define us. Let the joy remind us that we're all in this together. No one's getting out of here alive. We have the power to make it better. Anything else is just a lie. Getting out of here alive. We have have the power to make it better. Anything else is just a lie. We're all in this together. We're all in this together.
Thank you, Friends Band. What a nice treat. Welcome back, everyone. As you know, this month we're finishing up our work in Pema Chodron's book, Taking the Leap. We've been learning about the Buddhist concepts of Shampa and some of the ways that our minds will trick us into actually having a negative perception of ourselves and the world. It's an attachment that we have to ways of thinking and ways of being that actually in the end result are unhealthy for us. And so we've been taking a look at how we might disperse this Shampa or not become involved in it. Last week we specifically talked about our attachment to the past and the future, that often we ignore the possibility of enjoying ourselves right in the moment because we're either daydreaming or fearful about what might happen, or we're stuck in the past. We're replaying events that happened long ago, either positive or negative attachment to our life in the past. And so completely avoiding the possibility of the present moment, of joy in the present moment. And as we know, the future is only a maybe, the past is already gone, and so it is truly only in the present moment that true joy, true acceptance, true happiness can be found. But you may have noticed, at least a couple of you noticed, that I didn't really explain how to do that very well, right? It was all theory, so we'll stay in the present moment, and good luck with that. But have you ever been in the present moment when things are going wrong? And isn't it just that urge to just ignore the present moment and hope that things get better, to ignore what's going on and the possibility of the present moment and retreat maybe into the past. And so I didn't completely do you a good turn there by not going into some of the ways that we can actually begin enjoying the present moment today. So that is what my intention is today, to give you some real world tools for finding that enjoyment in the present moment. And I think the best place to start is one of my Mullah Nasruddin stories. And in fact, you're going to be doubly blessed today, believe it or not. I have two of them. I managed to dust off a couple of his stories for your enjoyment. So one fine day, Mullah Nasruddin, the great Sufi wise man and fool, went to the marketplace and he bought a fine piece of meat. On the way home, he met a friend who gave him a special recipe for it. "Mullah," said the friend, "this is the most tasty recipe. It contains the perfect spices to enhance your meal. You've never tasted anything like this before, I promise. It's a true masterpiece of flavors. It's a triumph to the palate." Well, Mullah Nasruddin was very happy. As he walked along, he thought about how wonderful the meat would taste, how happy his wife would be to have the recipe, how content and full the family would feel. What a delight. Well, daydreaming, he let slip the package. As it fell to the ground, a large crow swooped down, stole the meat, and flew off with it. "You thief!" cried Nasruddin to the departing crow. He shook his fist. "You have stolen my meat, but you will not enjoy it. After all, I have the recipe." And so, of course, Nasruddin is really bringing up the question, where does our pleasure come from? Where does joy come from? If we're going to learn to find joy in the present moment, where do we find it? Is it in the meat? Is it thinking about the meat? Is it thinking about a recipe that might enhance the meat? Right? Who's going to be happier here? Is it the crow? Is it Nasruddin? And I guess that brings us to the larger question today. If we're going to find joy in the present moment, if we're going to rejoice in things as they are, where does this idea of rejoicing come from? Well, in the Buddhist tradition, of course, it comes from our mind, not necessarily from the stuff around us. And although we tend to have that linkage of our mind of the thing brings the joy, it's really the thing that only triggers our mental processes that create joy in our experience. So it's really those mental processes. It's the imagining how tasty the meat's going to be. It's the mental perspective that the recipe is going to enhance things. It may or may not, but what I do know is in the moment, through our thinking, we can bring joy. Regardless of what's going on, regardless of whether we have what we want or we think we need, regardless of things that we think are missing from our lives or even surplus in our lives, true joy is an inside job. It's an inner construct. And so this idea today, this idea of mudita, or the frame of mind that is rejoicing in things as it is, that appreciative noticing, is something that we actually create. So to cultivate mudita, we focus on moving our attention from the negative to the positive. And I know this is difficult. You know, there have been some studies on modern brain science that says just in the normal course of a day, we tend to select out or notice or remember negative things 6 times more often than positive things. It's as though our brain is actually wired to notice in particular, or to remember in particular, things that are not right or have gone wrong. And so it sometimes gives us the idea that there's 6 times as much trouble in the world and we better pay attention to it. But just knowing how our brain works, reassure yourself. Really, there are 6 times more positive things going on than probably you're noticing. When you're driving down the freeway, do you notice all the cars that are behaving themselves? Or do you notice that one car that's zooming ahead of everybody and cutting people off, right? When you're walking down the street, do you notice all of the people enjoying themselves and pleasantly walking along? Or do you notice that one fellow that seems not quite right, or that might pose some kind of an issue to you? Do you see how it works? We live our lives noticing the one neighbor that's troublesome, or the one coworker out of hundreds of coworkers that perhaps isn't to your liking. And so it truly is the power of our mind, the power of our discernment, that can begin switching that role. And it can begin very easily simply by you noticing it. Next time you notice something that brings out a negative reaction in yourself, whether it's driving on the highway, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, just notice the next time that negative thought, that desire to be hooked into negativity comes up, and just put it on pause for a minute, and even just look around where you are right now and notice and see everything that's going right. Notice that perhaps 99% of your life is going right. So the upset comes your way, your button's been pressed. You'll remember a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the idea of our buttons being pressed, right? We installed the buttons and then we get the joy of reacting to them when someone else presses them. But again, we will take the opportunity to put that on pause rather than reacting outwards, rather than lashing out or being in a place of reaction to that button being pushed. Let us just put it on pause for a moment and see if we can notice how well our lives are actually going right in that moment. We just put it on pause and even allow our mind to wander, our eyes to rove around a little bit. How wonderful this house is. How beautiful the layout of it. What lovely sofa curtains. Now, I know some of you are beginning to laugh a little bit. Larry, that's trivial. But yes, and isn't the negativity ultimately trivial as well? So part of this whole practice of appreciation, this whole idea of appreciative joy is on purpose to put in the background some of the negativity that we might tend to notice and simply pull into the foreground some of the beauty in our lives, some of the love that we feel from other people, some of the utility or the good that we get out of our jobs or that we get out of some of the relationships we have. Yes, there can be trouble there. But do we need to dwell on it? Do we need to make it be the focus of the present moment? So that's how we begin to cultivate mudita. We focus on that idea of the ability we have to move our attention, to move the attention for what something in the moment seems negative or alarming, to simply refocus it on something more positive. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, wait a minute. Well, if I'm right in the middle of something, if someone's right in my face, I can't just turn my back and start thinking happy thoughts. That's just not very realistic. And of course, you're right. We do have to deal with what's before us. So don't get me wrong. Sometimes we simply have to do what's in front of us and save the mudita for later. But I'm here to tell you, very often we repeat and carry on with our negative thinking long after the issue has actually passed. The upset may have been a phone call that happened at 9 o'clock this morning, and here it is 2 in the afternoon, right? And we're still dwelling on it. So whenever you notice yourself wandering back to the negativity, whenever you find yourself replaying events that were upsetting, that's the time to put that on the back burner, just allow it to fade into the background, and put our focus, put our attention on appreciative joy, on this idea of, wait a minute, the world around me is actually loving. The world around me is actually safe. There is love here. There is peace here. There is beauty here. I have another Mullah Nasruddin story for you. Are you ready? This one is titled Mullah Nasruddin, the Metaphysician. So Mullah Nasruddin once took a job as a coachman. One day he was asked to drive his employer to a disreputable part of town. "Keep your eyes open," said the employer as he alighted from his coach at the destination. "This place is infested with thieves." Well, sometime later, the man thought of checking on his new employee. "Is everything all right?" "What are you doing now?" the employer shouted from the window of the house he had gone into. "Oh, I'm just sitting here wondering what happens to a man's lap when he gets up," the mullah shouted back. A little later, the employer again shouted from the window, "What are you doing now, mullah?" "Well, I'm wondering what happens to a fist when the fingers are unclenched," shouted Nasruddin. Well, his employer was impressed. "My coachman is no ordinary fellow," he boasted to the hosts. "He certainly is a metaphysician and a philosopher." Half an hour later, he again poked his head out of the window and shouted, "What are you doing now, mullah?" I'm wondering who stole the horses, replied Nasruddin. And so how do we take this philosophy, this desire to contemplate the world in a more positive way? How can we take it to the streets? How does it not just be a metaphysical thing that we think would be nice? And so I wanted to share with you today a practice that you can do to cultivate appreciative joy just on the fly. It doesn't have to be part of a meditation. It doesn't have to be something that you set up to do routinely. It's something that you can just do even when negativity arises in your life. And so this is something that I invite you just to follow along as I as I describe it. This is something you can do with your eyes wide open. In fact, you'll need to have your eyes open for it. So let's start out by just noticing something that's on your person. It might be an article of clothing, it might be a piece of jewelry. Just notice something that's on your person. And think of something pleasant about it. On purpose, just think of something pleasant about it. Maybe you like the texture of it. Maybe it fits well, or maybe it's comfortable. Maybe it's a piece of clothing or jewelry you've had just a sweet long time, and it brings back fond memories. Maybe it's beautiful or striking. Maybe you've had compliments about it. Maybe it was given to you by someone special, or maybe the process of buying it was pleasurable. Just continue to examine and think about this item and the positive nature of it. Think with gratitude of the many numbers of people that were involved in manufacturing it or bringing it to you. Just continue to examine it, to think about all of the positive qualities of this particular item of clothing or jewelry. When you've noticed all that's good and sufficient about it, just bless it. Give thanks for it. Feel gratitude in your heart for this item. So just allow your emotions to just encompass your feelings of appreciative joy and gratitude. Now look around you and choose another item that you can see. It might be an object of furniture or decoration, just something around the house that you noticed. You can really pick it at random. But begin thinking something pleasant about it. Maybe you like the way that it looks. Maybe you like the shape of it. Maybe it's useful or comfortable. Maybe it's beautiful. Maybe it provides a unique and important service to you. Maybe it was given to you by someone special, or the process of buying it was pleasurable. Just continue to examine this item that you've chosen at random from around the house and continue to think of positive aspects of it. Maybe the many people engaged in creating it or in bringing it to you. Maybe it's the color of it. Maybe it's a sense of joy or pride that you have in displaying it. Continue to examine and think about this item, all the positive qualities of it. Now bless it. Give thanks for it. See if you can bring that feeling of gratitude and joy into your heart. That ability to really feel appreciation for it. Now, I'll give you a tip just from my own mind. I use this particular technique when I'm out in public and things aren't quite going the way I would like. Have you ever been that person at perhaps a grocery store line, and you have waited and you've waited and you've waited, and suddenly you realize that the person doing the checkout is someone who's in training, and the person they're waiting on is having trouble with their credit cards? There's that urge, if you're like me, and perhaps I'm divulging too much, just to be pissed off, just to be angry at the store for putting me in this situation. Well, that, as you know, is one of those places, those tugs where the button gets pressed, and I might be quick to come into anger. Here is a place where I would use this appreciative joy. I would simply pick an item in the store. In fact, the store I'm thinking of, where I usually wait to be checked out, is right in the aisle with the peanut butter and the jelly. And I'll just look over and remember some of the sweet times I had as a child with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'll think of the people who perhaps raised the peanuts and had the farm where the blackberries and raspberries grew. I'll appreciate the remembrance of the taste in my mouth of both the peanut butter and jelly. I'll think about the love that my mom used to put into those sandwiches that she'd pack up and send me off to school. Do you see what I'm doing? I could focus on that one thing that isn't going right in my life. I could focus on being stuck at the line at the supermarket, a line that I've already waited in too long, a line that's keeping me from doing other things in my life. I could focus on that. I could even react to it in anger and say something perhaps unpleasant to the checker or the person ahead of me that's fumbling with their credit cards. But instead, I'm choosing to put that on the back burner. Instead, I'm realizing that I can actually experience joy even in that upsetting moment. And that I can use this process of appreciative joy wherever I am. And so wherever you are, any time of the day or night, any time that an upset comes your way, and by the way, you can probably tell that this might be a homework assignment, right? But anytime you feel that upset in your heart, that likelihood of wanting to lash out or say something that perhaps you would regret later, maybe it is the time for this appreciative joy, just noticing the sweet little things around you. Put aside the one thing that's not going well and appreciate the thousands of things that bring you joy, that bring you love, that you can sense are right with the world. Let's do one more together, would you? This time I invite you to close your eyes and just think of someone that you care about. Maybe it's a relative or a friend that's important to you. Actively think pleasant thoughts about them. Maybe you share values or opinions. Maybe you like the way they look or the way they talk. Maybe they always seem to understand what's going on with you. Maybe they've been an inspiration to you or a mentor to you. Maybe you raised them, or maybe they raised you. Continue to think about this person and all the positive nature of them. Of course, there may be negative elements as too, but just allow those to fade into the background. Concentrate on everything that's good and sufficient and loving about this person. And then bless them. Give thanks for them. See if you can bring up into your heart that sense of loving kindness, of gratitude. Just thank them in your heart for the involvement that they have in your life. So we've seen a couple ways of taking this out of the metaphysics and actually bring it into your personal life today. We've not gone full Mullah Nasruddin and just ignored the horses being stolen, right? We know that we can actively have a change to our thinking simply by using this idea of rejoicing in the things just as they are, allowing the negative input that we get from our five senses to simply fade into the background. We recognize that it's there. If something needs to be done, of course, we'll take care of it. But if nothing needs to be done, let us use the power of our thinking to find those small, sweet, lovely things going on in our life. Allow ourselves to be reoriented towards the positive. So Pema Chodron recommends implementation of this idea of appreciative joy in several ways. First, she asks that we put it into our spiritual practice. And it might be like the meditation we did at the beginning of the service, that idea of using somewhat of a mantra of breathing in that idea of joy and peace and breathing out the idea of the world as it is. So she might suggest that idea of a meditation. Her other suggestion, though, as part of an ongoing spiritual practice, is a gratitude journal, and I know many of us already have one. I'll tell you about mine, and it's the kind of journal that she recommends. It's something that just sits by my bedside, and every night I spend only about 5 minutes to write down the 5 things for which I'm truly grateful for that day. Now, I have to admit, once in a while, I'm like, ugh. All right, I love my dogs. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've had a terrible day, but then you start thinking, well, wait a minute, right? What a beautiful house I have. What a loving partner. What sweet dogs, right? It allows us to reorientate from a day that maybe has not gone well into that realization of rejoicing in the things that are. The realization that there's so much good going on and that I can be thankful for it. The other thing that it does, and we believe in the science of mind, that which we focus on increases. So if I focus on what I'm grateful for, if I focus on the light and the love, on the joy and the peace, then surely I will have more of it. Surely that will be increased. So another good reason for that gratitude journal is to simply switch you into that mode of acquiring more of what you desire, more love, more peace, more light. Now, I do know a friend of mine, she does her gratitude journal in the morning. And do you know, she calls it her future gratitude journal. And I love this. I don't think she'd mind if I share the idea with you. She sets out with her day intending for the things she'll be grateful for. And so in her journal, she might write, I will be grateful for the telephone conversation I have with my boss today. I'll be grateful for enjoying my work day today. I'll be grateful for going out to the movies with my friend Susan this evening. I'll be grateful for cleaning my house and enjoying how beautiful it is when I'm finished. So she'll actually set up her day for future gratitude, and that's a lovely way of doing it too. Pema Chodron also says that we should set aside time throughout the day to rejoice in the things as they are, to set aside this idea of appreciation throughout the day. So maybe if you have a break at work, maybe as I suggested in our little experiment here, if something upsetting comes your way, what a perfect time to simply seek out this change of thought, to seek out the good things going on around you. All right, well, let me summarize. Today we completed our study, of that idea of Shempa, right? Of our buttons being pressed, of us being fixated on the future and the past and the things that upset us, our fixation with things that are negative. So we've wrapped up our study of this idea of Shenpa, our attachments, and we've learned that a key method of avoiding Shempa is cultivating an appreciative frame of mind. We can learn to find appreciation, even joy, in any moment if we make that choice. If we recognize that our mind is apt to seek out the negative, we can choose to overturn that. We can choose to recognize and focus on the dozens of things that are going well instead of maybe the one thing that needs some work. We can practice appreciative joy through a gratitude journal, through meditation, or simply choosing in any given moment to put aside the negative thoughts and take up more positive ones. Well, I did mention your homework earlier, but let me review it. The next time you're hooked into some negative, angry, or resistant thoughts, right? You might translate that into next time your button gets pushed. See if you can pause. We'll just put that reaction on pause. I'm not going to lash out. I'm not going to talk back. I'm not going to do something without thinking about it. I'm just going to put that on pause and instead see if you can cultivate appreciative joy. Look around your room where you are and see if there's something in that room that you can choose to appreciate. Or imagine a loved one that isn't even in the room with you and see if you can focus on cultivating appreciative joy around that person or that relationship. Remember my example in the grocery store, right? I'm kind of PO'd about having to wait in line so long, but instead I'm going to think about the sweet peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that my mom made when I was a kid, right? That's the way to do it. Well, I want to close today with a quote from the book and a prayer. So this is how Pema Chodron completes the book. She says, "This book has been an attempt to look closely at how we stay stuck in the kind of narrow, self-absorbed vision of negativity. It also has been an attempt to pass on some of what my teachers have taught me about how to get unhooked. The motivation for presenting this material, however, is not solely the wish that each of us might become happier. The primary intention is that we might follow the advice contained in order to prepare ourselves to look beyond our own welfare and consider the great sufferings of the world right now. As we change our own dysfunctional habits, we are simultaneously changing the habits of society itself. One's own awakening is intertwined with the awakening and enlightenment of society. If we can lose our personal appetites for aggression, for addiction, for negativity, the whole planet will benefit." Let us pray. There is one power, one presence, one life, and one love. There is only this one thing that I call God or Spirit. And what I know about Spirit is there's nothing outside of it. There is only God. And so I know I'm part of that one presence. I have to be by definition. God's love is my love. God's joy is my joy. Everything that God has is so willingly shared with its other pieces and parts, of which I am one. And so the goodness of God itself is mine to have and to enjoy in every moment. And so for myself, I know there's that willingness to pause before I react. Instead of reacting to negativity, that pause allows me to think about the possibilities of joy. It allows me to cast my consciousness around, to seek out that which is good and pleasant, joyous, and bringing of gratitude. I also know that I have a willingness to stop in any present moment and just review what I'm thinking and make changes to those thoughts. Finally, I know I have a commitment to cultivating this mindset of joy, to recognize that the negativity and the joy arises in my own mind, and that I have a choice as to which one I magnify and follow. Well, as it is true for me, I know without question that it is true for everyone. Each of us has the opportunity of changing our mind. Each of us has the opportunity of making a difference by choosing carefully the thought patterns we have in our own mind. To let go of those things that are a result of our button being pressed, to disconnect those buttons, to move forward in a life that is more positive, that focuses in on the appreciative joy that we find in other people and the world around us. And so for this notion of moving forward in love, moving forward in gratitude, for this way of contemplation, I give great thanks. And in gratitude, I release my prayer into the activity, into the action of the law itself. I let it be, and together we say, and so it is. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Now is our time of conscious contribution. I invite you to take your gift or your tithe. If you'd like to place it over your heart, that would be wonderful. If you're getting out your phones or your web browsers to perhaps come to cslportland.org/donate, that of course would be very welcome. But in the meantime, I invite you, if you'd like, to place your hand over your heart and just repeat after me. Graciously I give from a place of love, knowing that as I give, so do I receive. So I think our videographer, Mark Pettijohn, is going to show just a brief clip of how you can go to our website and donate. And while he's doing that, I wanted to read a lovely letter that we received from Bradley Engelhouse. As you can imagine, so many people being sort of trapped at home, being asked to stay at home, can provide trouble. And Bradley Engelhouse is a local shelter for, in particular, families that have been battered. And so we've been, of course, partnering with them for some time, and I wanted to read a thank you letter that we received from them. It says, Dear Reverend King, on behalf of Bradley Engel, I would like to thank you and the Center for Spiritual Living for your generous donation. As many in the Portland community are practicing social distancing and quarantining, we acknowledge that home is not a safe space for everyone. Many abusers will use this epidemic as a way to further control their victims. And then a personal note that she wrote in pencil here. We're so grateful to you and your congregation for the many years of support that you've given us. The needs of survivors in our community is so needed right now, and we're glad to have your friendship. So I just want to thank you all for your contributions. It is through your contributions that we're able to support some of our community service members. Well, I do have one more thing to read to you today. We're winding up a month where we've focused a bit on the Buddhist tradition, and I found a lovely prayer. It's translated from a guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. It's something that Shantideva wrote, a Buddhist master from the 8th century. So let us close with this today. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms, and may the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding perfect repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water, and may the poor find wealth. Those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective, and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the people think of benefiting each other always, and for as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel all of the miseries of the world. And so it is. Thank you very much. If you happen to be in the Portland, Oregon area, we'd love to have you visit in person. The Portland Center for Spiritual Living is located at 6211 Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. We have inspirational services at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. every Sunday. We also have many programs, classes, and workshops developed just for our online audience. To find out more, go to our website at cslportland.org and look under the Online tab. We have a variety of content dedicated specifically for our online listeners. Our mission is to open hearts, ignite minds, and make a difference. If you'd like to support our center, you can donate online at cslportland.org/donate. Our website is also the place to learn more about what's going on at the center or to contact us. Allow us to become part of your extended spiritual community. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are most welcome at the Center for Spiritual Living.